Hey, I'm just a love machine, and I don't work for nobody but you. I'm just a love machine, and I don't work for nobody but you. Well, when my temperature rise, and then I go for her thighs, and then I say guacamole in my juice, guacamole in my juice. Hijo de la chingada! Is that a joint, man? God damn, looks like a quarter pounder, man. Led Zeppelin.
One of the recurring themes in this story is that often the most conspicuous events in history, the surface disturbances as the great historian Fernand Braudel metaphorically called them, often obscure more significant developments happening just below that turbulent surface. At the surface level in 1977, it seemed that Americans had come to accept drug use as simply a fact of normal life. Saturday Night Live could run a bit poking fun both at Jimmy Carter's support for drug decriminalization and his penchant for being too smart and detail-oriented for politics by showing him walking a kid through a bad LSD trip.
Our next call is Peter Elton of Westbrook, Oregon, who I am told is 17 years of age.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah? Hello, Peter?
Is this the president?
Yes, it is.
Do you have a question for the president?
I took some acid. I'm afraid to leave my apartment and I can't wear any clothes. And the ceiling is dripping, and
Well, thank you very much for calling, sir. Please.
No, just a minute, Walter. This guy's in trouble. I think I better try to talk him down. Peter?
Yeah.
Peter, what did the acid look like?
They were these little orange pills.
Were they barrel-shaped?
Yes.
Okay, right. You did some orange sunshine, Peter.
Very good of you to know that, this, sir.
How long ago did you take it, Peter?
I don't know. I can't read my watch.
All right, Peter, now just listen. Everything's going to be fine. You're very high right now. You'll probably be that way for about 5 more hours. Try taking some vitamin B complex, vitamin C complex. If you have a beer, go ahead and drink it.
Okay.
Just remember, you're a living organism on this planet, and you're very safe. You've just taken a heavy drug. Now,
Right.
just relax, stay inside, and listen to some music, okay?
Yeah.
Do you have any Allman Brothers?
Yeah, I do, sir. Everything's okay, huh, Jimmy?
It sure is, Peter.
The comedy team Cheech and Chong made a career out of joking about heavy drug use, and the film Reefer Madness was a staple of midnight movies on college campuses because its dire warnings about marijuana were now seen as a joke, at least by those who were hip, as Norman Mailer would have put it. In the late 1970s, recreational drug use was no longer a dirty secret. Neighborhood record stores sold bongs and other paraphernalia, and head shops and head magazines were thriving. But while Jimmy Carter was talking about marijuana decriminalization in 1977,
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
just the year before, an organized reaction against the drug culture had quietly begun to build. In Atlanta, near Emory University, Martha Schuhard, a lifelong liberal Democrat, discovered that the kids at her 13-year-old daughter's backyard birthday party had spent the evening passing around joints and malt liquor. She'd already been concerned about her daughter's recent mood swings that, much like my problems in the 6th grade, might have simply been assumed to be a product of puberty and adolescence. But the leftover roach clips and empty booze bottles in her backyard suggested something else. They suggested that the problem was drugs. Schuhard was an unlikely leader of what many would consider a reactionary movement. She had a PhD in British literature, and she had worked hard on behalf of civil rights in the 1960s. But what she saw in her own backyard, and in American culture more generally, convinced her that the drug permissiveness of the 1970s had gone too far. And she probably had a point. Today we know that, while the risks of marijuana use are relatively low compared to other widely used intoxicants, they are highest among those individuals who start using as teenagers. And in 1976, more than half of American high school seniors had smoked marijuana. Schuhard thus began doing the serious and hard activist work she used to dedicate to voter registration and desegregation campaigns in Georgia during the 1960s. She found like-minded parents and got them organized, forming an organization called PRIDE, or Parents Resource Institute for Drug Education. Then, in 1980, Ronald Reagan, the conservative former governor of California who'd made his name taking a hard line on 1960s campus protests, defeated Jimmy Carter in a landslide. A cultural shift was clearly occurring in American life and politics.
know, it's hard work keeping in shape, but it's important to me to be the best that I can be and look the best that I can look. I don't go through all this to impress other people. I do it because I care about me. I care about my body and my health. But most importantly, I care about feeling good about myself. That's why I would never, ever take illegal drugs. You know, I've seen some people who smoke marijuana, and they seem to lose pride in their appearance. They lose their motivation to achieve. And let's face it, what goes in your body eventually shows up on the outside. The bottom line is stay away from drugs, but do it because you care about yourself.
Over the next 6 years, several events would combine to produce a full-on moral panic related to drugs in the United States. First, the parents' movement would gain Nancy Reagan's attention and support, and in 1985, in conjunction with Cincinnati's own Procter & Gamble, she would create what the historian Emily Dufton has called the largest nationwide anti-drug program of all time. Second, the boom in cocaine sales that had begun in the 70s triggered an explosion of both illicit wealth and violence that was impossible for federal authorities to ignore, especially in hotspots like Miami. In 1979, the Federal Reserve Bank in South Florida reported an incredible $5 billion cash surplus, and that summer a shootout between drug hitmen at a Miami shopping mall in broad daylight suggested that drug trafficking violence was getting out of control. After $100 million in cocaine was seized at the Miami airport in 1982, President Reagan announced the creation of the South Florida Task Force.
I believe that these task forces will allow us to mount an intensive and coordinated campaign against international and domestic drug trafficking and other organized criminal enterprises.
That was the beginning of Reagan's war on drugs. Second, around this time, a new cheap smokable form of cocaine called crack hit the streets of the United States.
This is it. The drug so powerful it will empty the money from your pockets, make you sell the watch off your wrist, the clothes off your back.
Or kill your mother. Yep, that's what we're seeing.
On the streets of New York, it's called crack, and the deals go down quickly. You've just witnessed a buy. This form of cocaine comes concentrated. It is smoked rather than sniffed. It produces an intense high within 5 to 10 seconds that lasts only 5 to 10 minutes and leaves the user craving for more.
And this is the most addicting thing that probably ever existed in the world, you know? It will make you a slave.
Smoking cocaine, also known as freebasing, was not new, but this particular preparation was cheap and therefore affordable in the country's poorest neighborhoods.
Spend a day in these neighborhoods of projects and modest homes and you're overwhelmed by the drug sweeps and pushers. So are the people who live here. Why do you think so many people are getting killed?
From drugs. From drugs.
Why though? What happens?
The drugs, the crack, the drugs.
Third, in 1985, DEA agent Enrique Kiki Camarena was kidnapped by drug traffickers in Guadalajara, Mexico. He was tortured and murdered, just as Pablo Escobar in Colombia was beginning to wage war on his own government. These events, along with the growing violence related to the drug trade in the U.S., suggested that what had been a figurative drug war was becoming something closer to a real one. Fourth, and finally, in 1986, the promising basketball star Len Bias died of a cocaine overdose shortly after being selected second overall in the NBA draft. Then, just a week later, another major sports star, Don Rogers of the Cleveland Browns, also died of a cocaine overdose. These tragic deaths were the sparks that set off a firestorm.